Welcome to The Explainer. Today we're going to put on our detective hats and crack the code of statistics. We're going to look at its two big branches to see how they help us figure things out, and we'll start with a mystery I think you'll find familiar.
All right, let's dive right in. Picture this. You finally did it. You opened your dream coffee shop. It's been a week, and it seems like everyone is ordering lattes. But how do you really know if that's a real trend or just a first-week fluke? How can you predict what's going to be your bestseller for the long haul? Well, that's exactly the kind of puzzle statistics was born to solve.
To get to the bottom of it, you have to start thinking like a data detective. All that information you have, your sales numbers, what people are ordering, the prices, those are your clues. But, just having a pile of clues isn't enough, right? You need a game plan, a way to make sense of them. And in statistics, every great detective has two main angles of attack.
And here they are. Descriptive and inferential statistics. It's actually pretty simple. Think of descriptive statistics as laying out all the evidence on the table. It's just the facts, ma'am. It tells you exactly what happened. Inferential statistics, that's the fun part. That's when you take those facts and make the big leap, the aha moment where you predict what's likely to happen next.
So let's start with that first toolkit, Descriptive Statistics. This is all about looking at the clues we already have, that first week of coffee shop sales, and just trying to get a handle on them. We're not predicting anything yet, we're just organizing the evidence and summarizing the cold hard facts.
So where do we even begin with all this data? Well, a great first step is to find the center of it all. Now, statisticians have a fancy name for this, measures of central tendency, but don't let that trip you up. It's just about finding a single, typical number that can represent the middle of all your sales.
The one you definitely already know is the mean. It's just the good old-fashioned average. You add up the price of every single drink you sold, then divide by how many drinks you sold. Boom. That gives you the average sale price at your shop. A super useful starting point. Next up, we've got the median. Now this one's cool. If you lined up every sale you made in order, from the cheapest to the most expensive, the median is the one smack dab in the middle. The reason this is so great is that it isn't easily fooled. If one person comes in and buys a super expensive fancy drink, it won't throw off your whole analysis like it can with the mean.
And the third one is the mode. This is the easiest of all. It's simply the thing that shows up most often. So if you sold way more lattes than anything else, well, latte is your mode. It's your current best seller, plain and simple.
Okay, now look at this. This is where it gets really interesting, because these three numbers can tell slightly different stories. Your mean, or average sale, is $4.75, but the median is a little lower, at $4.50. That hints that a few pricier drinks might be pulling the average up. But the mode, your most popular item, is the $5 latte. See? Each number gives you a unique little clue.
But hold on. Finding the middle is only half the story. A really good detective also needs to understand the spread of the data. Are all your sales pretty much the same price, or are they all over the map? This is what statisticians call measures of dispersion.
And the absolute simplest way to look at spread is the range. You just take the price of the most expensive thing you sold and subtract the price of the cheapest thing. Right away, that gives you an idea of just how varied your customers' spending habits are. Okay, so describing our first week is great. We have the facts of the case, right? But to answer our big question, the one about the bestseller forever, we have to do something much harder. We have to make that big leap from describing the past to predicting the future. This is so important because it's easy to see 1 week's data and assume it's the absolute truth forever.
And this is where the magic of inferential statistics comes in. The whole idea is to take your small set of clues, that 1 week of sales, which we call a sample, and use it to make a smart, educated guess about the entire bigger picture. That bigger picture is what we call the population, all of your customers for all time.
So how do we actually do that? How do we make that leap from sample to population without just, wildly guessing? Well, a huge tool in the toolkit is something called hypothesis testing. Seriously, just think of it as a formal, step-by-step process for testing a hunch. Like, I bet lattes will always be more popular than cappuccinos.
And the process makes total sense. First, you start with the hunch, your initial idea. Second, you gather your evidence, your sample data. Third, you do the analysis. You run a proper statistical test on that data. And finally, you reach a verdict. Does the evidence support your hunch or not?
Now, just like a real detective has fingerprinting kits and magnifying glasses, a data detective has a whole bunch of specialized tools for this part.
You don't need to be an expert right now, but you might hear about things like t-tests, maybe to see if there's a real difference in sales between two drinks, or ANOVA to compare a bunch of drinks at once, or even correlation to see if two things are related, like do hot days actually lead to more iced coffee sales?
Okay, let's just pause for a second and lay all of our tools out on the table so this is all super clear. Because we've got these two different kits, and the secret to being a great data detective is just knowing which tool to use for which job. Think of this as your perfect cheat sheet. On one side, you've got your descriptive tools, things like mean, median, and mode. You use these to get your arms around the clues you already have. On the other side, you've got your inferential tools, like t-tests. You use those to take the clues you have and make smart predictions about what you don't have.
So, what's the big takeaway from all this? The most important thing to remember is that these two types of statistics aren't in competition. They're partners. They work together. You absolutely need both to solve any interesting data mystery. You just have to be clear about which job you're doing. Are you describing what you see, or are you predicting what's next?
I think this sums it up perfectly. Descriptive statistics tells you what your data is saying right now. Inferential statistics helps you guess what that might mean for tomorrow. You see, you can't make a good guess about the future until you have a really solid handle on the facts of the present.
So, if you remember just one thing from this explainer, let it be this number. 2. Two big jobs for data. Two different toolkits that go hand in hand. And when you put them together, you get one incredibly powerful way to make sense of the world and make much, much smarter decisions.
The cool thing is, now that you know about this basic data detective toolkit, you'll start to see it everywhere. Sports stats, the news, business reports. The world is just overflowing with data clues. So the only real question left is, what mysteries are you going to solve?